Alright, so right now I'm gonna check out this video. We live out here in Las Vegas, so it says the real reason Lake Mead is drying up. Hopefully, it's not gonna waste my time, but let me know what y'all
Drought
think.
at Lake Mead in Nevada. It provides 40 million Americans with water. And the dangerous drought at Lake Mead in Nevada. It provides 40 million Americans with water, and now it's at its lowest level since it was created in the 1930s.
With a staggering 20 million dependents or more for drinking water and power supply, the importance of Lake Mead was never in doubt. But sadly, this important reservoir is alarmingly drying up. Recent changes in global climate conditions have seen bodies of water reducing in the recent decades, and Lake Mead joins the list of drying out essential river sources. However, there seems to be more behind the lake's rapidly declining levels other than the obvious. So join us as we take a deep look at the real reasons why Lake Mead is drying up and what this could mean for the dozens of states and millions of people that depend on its existence. The largest reservoir in the United States, Lake Mead, was created by the Hoover Dam on the Colorado River, spans Nevada and Arizona, and provides electricity to hundreds of thousands of locals. Due to the current drought in the western United States, it has been rapidly nearing the dead pool level. At about 1,040.71 feet during the summer this year, the lake's water levels were at their lowest point since the early 1930s. The amount of precipitation is one of the major factors that determine the water levels in Lake Mead. It varies seasonally because of the winter snowpack flow from the Rocky Mountains down to the valley. However, due to climate change, it is getting harder to predict seasonal weather patterns. Thus, despite some recent increase in water levels, the lake is only 27% full. Another factor affecting the lake's decrease may be due to the poor planning of the Colorado River watershed made about a century ago. A deal to regulate the water from the river was made in 1922 by the states of California, Nevada, Utah, Wyoming, Colorado, and New Mexico. They had to pick a precise number to base the river's average yearly flow on, and they settled on 15 million acre-feet. They made the determination based on flow gauges that had recorded an average of 17 million acre-feet annually since 1890. However, that was an exaggeration because a wet spell was occurring in the Colorado watershed at that time. The more accurate estimate for the 20th century was 13 million acre-feet. The largest users of water from Lake Mead are the states of California and Arizona, of which California is thought to still draw from the lake about 3 times as much as Arizona.
So you mean a majority of that energy don't even come here to Vegas? Most of it? California and Arizona?
Despite both states' effort to use less water to safeguard the lake. Plus, a treaty guaranteeing New Mexico 1.5 million acre-feet of Colorado River water was passed by Congress in 1944. There were no issues for the majority of the early 20th century as the flow of the river seemed endless, with no one consuming their fair share of water and everyone having a comfortable buffer in case of drought. The 1956 Colorado River Storage Project, however, proposed fresh plans to use the river's water.
The future in Las Vegas is electric, and Tobin EV
Fucking ads.
Water to within 1/10 of anticipated capacity. The proposal was expected to build enormous new infrastructure, encouraging colonization of America's West, much like its sibling, the 1957 Interstate Highway Project. Arid terrain would be reclaimed for agriculture and urbanization, with the construction of new dams, reservoirs, canals, and power lines in a larger version of California's Los Angeles Basin development. There was only one major issue. The design included the inflated flow number. Everyone continued to operate with this for the next 24 years, with the false assumption that they were distributing about 16.5 million acre-feet of water annually, despite the mounting evidence to the contrary. Then the 1990s brought a wake-up call for the area. Over the years, there were a lot of severe droughts, which water planners had to look into until they found new discoveries about tree ring analysis and carbon-14. All living organisms absorb carbon-14, which they largely stop doing when they pass away, and thus nitrogen-14 is produced as a result of the radioactive decay of carbon-14. Therefore, when we find out how much carbon-14 a dead organism was absorbing when alive, we can measure how much carbon-14 is left in dead organic matter to determine how long it has been dead. Paleontologists had to research prehistoric climates stretching back more than 15,000 years to ensure the accuracy of their carbon-14 dating. This included accurately tracking changes in temperature and moisture to gauge how quickly plants grew. There was no clue in the geologic record, but growth rings of a particular small tree known as a bristlecone pine were a significant early indicator. This tree, a tenacious relic from the Ice Age, can live for over 3,000 years and is only found in remote areas of the Southwest. The wood of the pine trees develops hundreds of annual growth rings, which are thicker in dry, cool years and thinner in wet, warm years. In a masterful piece of detective work, researchers compared the thin and thick ring patterns in these pines to those found in wood from other known aged trees across America, some of which were long dead. They then extended this study to even older semi-fossilized wood, as well as lake floor sediments and other indicators. Additionally, they created computer programs that modeled the variables influencing wood development and tweaked them till they matched the paleontological record as they went along. By the 1990s, these systems could accurately forecast the growing condition for any place in the American West over the previous 15,000 years, and could even be used to forecast circumstances in the future. And as they were doing this, it was discovered that the Colorado watershed experienced long cycles of wet to dry weather. Nothing as orderly as a calendar, but typically an 800-year cycle of dryness, followed by wetness and then dryness once more. The wet side of the cycle had been close to its apex around 1922, after which it naturally started to decline. Now in 2022, the watershed is far into a long-term drying cycle that hasn't yet reached its lowest point. Ironically, all would have been just fine for a while, yet if there hadn't been a drastic increase in consumption from the 1950s through the 1980s, there wouldn't be any requests for stringent conservation measures because Lake Mead would be practically full. Although the population boom was a logical rationale for expanding cropland and irrigation, wasting all that water and all that land upset the sensibilities from the 1950s. The major problem was, most of the land irrigated wasn't suited for growing staples like maize, wheat, or potatoes. You could grow them, but the cost of production and shipping would be higher than the market value. Thus, the tomatoes, lettuce, cucumbers, and spinach were truck crops that were paid to grow there. The U.S. government assisted in crushing the competition to create a market for vegetables from Colorado watershed, but they already thrived elsewhere. It may sound strong to use the word crush, but supermarket chains turned to Arizona sources with federal assistance, and existing grow businesses that hadn't previously been displaced by California veggies found their best customers nationwide. To meet its congressional mandate, the Colorado River Storage Project needed to demonstrate a benefit, which was accomplished in this way, at least for a while. Obviously, the amount of water being consumed, primarily to support superfluous agriculture, was never sustainable. The farms did not create any more jobs than local producers would have done if Arizona hadn't driven them off the market. Despite this, there is less hunger today than there was in 1950, when there were 2.5 billion people on the planet to feed, which is thanks to global food production that has kept up. However, the states that would suffer most from the devastation, strangely, aren't Arizona or California, but Nevada. Las Vegas, an extremely hot and dry city that was purposefully planned without having any genuine water resources of its own, was a problem in itself set to occur from the onset. It might on the surface seem improbable that Las Vegas would run out of water from Lake Mead since, barring a
Another ad.
Now that we've made travel so
I hate this as much as
expensive,
I do.
this world-famous resort
severe Rocky Mountain drought that lasts longer than a few years, the Colorado River will continue to flow. But it is highly probable that before 2036, the cost of water will soar to unaffordable levels that a large portion of Las Vegas's population will be compelled to relocate. Businesses will start to reduce operations in the city and the surrounding areas even before then, because the cost of water will affect their bottom lines. Fewer travelers will come to Las Vegas as a result, and the exodus from the city will start. And even before that happens, Las Vegas might be compelled to halt or postpone a lot of infrastructure and development projects after realizing that they might be for nothing. In other words, even if we continue the scenario,
Hold on, Vegas is growing fast right now, like hella fast. Like, you mean to tell me this shit about to come to a halt?
to its suggested end, and Lake Mead does dry up, Las Vegas will have shrunk so much before that point that its water shortage will be a relatively unimportant issue. Of course, in a bid to prepare or possibly mitigate the eventual effects of Lake Mead eventually drying up, Las Vegas has been covertly trying to purchase water rights from ranches and other sources 100 or more miles away to eventually import water via a huge pipeline. This has caused issues with other governments, particularly Lincoln County. No one wishes to give up their limited aquifers for Las Vegas or any other city. To obtain water from the depleting reservoir, Las Vegas has been working on a new water intake from Lake Mead that is 135 feet deeper. From various sources, it is seen that the most likely asked question is if the lake can be artificially filled, and experts have been taken to giving their opinions, stating that while it isn't technically impossible, the manpower and economic costs to undergo such a project would be astronomical and thus impossible to carry out. Others argue that the first step to restoration of Lake Mead would be shutting down the truck farms and replacing them with native vegetation soon if Lake Mead is to continue to function as a lake. But doing so would require political will, which Arizona presently lacks as a result of persistent lobbying or current water users and land developers. In the current political atmosphere, the government hasn't made any concrete plans, and if nothing changes, the data indicate that Lake Mead will effectively be out by 2030, with Las Vegas vanishing into the dust. Do you still think anything can be done to salvage the situation? Let us know in the comments below. And if you've enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit like and share it with your friends. Make sure you subscribe to the channel for more and click the bell icon so you get notified when.
Shout out to Nature Discoveries. That's crazy. Shout out to Nature Discoveries for all that. Let me know what y'all think. Yeah, this shit might fucking push us out of Vegas.